Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Now this is the third time I've tried to make this video. I'm really not sure what's going on with my microphone settings at the moment. So this may be a little loud, it may be a little quiet, I'm not really sure to be honest. I've turned up the gain on the recording, I can always turn that down later. But yeah, I'm not really sure, so please let me know in the comments if this is too loud, too quiet, or just about right. But anyway, what I thought we would talk about today, I don't want this to be too long a video, because some of you may know that General Dan and I came back from a 3-day trip to Waterloo recently. We went for the 210th anniversary, but not for the reenactment. That was not on the anniversary for some reason. So we went there for that. I think it was so the farmers could get their crops in, to be fair. We've been walking the battlefield. We were, looking at the different areas. And one of the things that was going through my mind while we were doing it was, how can I film this for a video? So how can I break it up? Things like that. Now, in the end, we did a geographical breakup. We did the western side of the road for the first day, the main road that goes through the middle of the battlefield. We did the western side on day 1, including Hougomont, and then we did the eastern side on day 2, including Place Noire and La Belle Alliance, which is actually on the road itself. So that's how we broke it down. We broke it down geographically. Another possible way could have been by doing it chronologically. So we started off, with we did try and get to Quatre Bras, but it just wasn't doable. But we could have started off maybe at La Belle Alliance and then worked our way up from there. But as it was, we decided to do it geographically. Or I decided to do it geographically. But when I was thinking about this division of the battle, it really made me think about how there are multiple parts of the Battle of Waterloo that make it such an iconic battle. Waterloo, I would argue, is one of the most famous battles of all time. I think most normies have probably heard of Waterloo. They may not know what it is, they may not know who fought there, they may not know when it was, but they've probably heard of the Battle of Waterloo. And I think that's for a number of reasons. So I thought for a bit of fun today, we'd go through my top 5 reasons why Waterloo is the battle that just keeps on giving to wargamers time and again. Now, many of you will know that, or some of you will think I've got a bit of a downer on Waterloo, and I do to an extent. I've done a couple of videos about this. It's not that I don't like Waterloo per se, it's that I think it overshadows other, perhaps more interesting battles. But these are the 5 reasons why Waterloo is it is the iconic battle that it is. So in at number 5, we have the fact that it is the final major battle of the Napoleonic Wars. There were a few battles afterwards, places like Gnap, places like that, but realistically, this was the final set-piece battle. This was the army of France versus the army of Britain and her allies and the army of Prussia. This is where it all finalized here. Now, that's no mean achievement in itself. We all like our films and books and TV series and things like this to have a proper ending, and Waterloo is that for the Napoleonic Wars. You can say the Napoleonic era ended on the 18th of June 1815. Now, you could be argued against that, but the fact that you can even make that statement shows how final the battle was. So for me, point number 5 is that it is the end of the Napoleonic era. Now, point number 4 is that it has... I'm sorry, I should say that I'm doing these not necessarily in order of importance, but I'm just counting backwards. I don't know why I count backwards. That's just how I started off. So point number 4 is not necessarily any less or more important than the ones either side of it. But point number 4 is that this is the face-off that we all wanted as well. I mean, we love face-off so much they made an awesome 90s action movie about it. This is Napoleon versus Wellington. Now, there are other major, with a small m, Napoleonic generals out there, who one could argue are as, if not more important than the Duke of Wellington. Certainly, Kutuzov's Fabian system of retreating and bringing the French on is what won the Russians the first great patriotic war, as they would call it. And had they gone with the Tsar's plan of fighting the French, it probably wouldn't have gone so well. So, you could argue again that Kutuzov's more important, or you could argue that Blucher is, or this, that, and the other. You could argue that, Archduke Charles is because he created the first defeat against Napoleon, whatever. But the point is, Wellington is he stands almost astride the period as much as Napoleon does. This is a man who never lost a battle, of course, including the Battle of Waterloo, and had consistently defeated all of the French armies that were sent at him. Kutuzov, he may have won the war, but he lost plenty of battles. The same with Blucher. Wellington, on the other hand, was a war winner and a battle winner. And while Napoleon was far from his peak abilities, it's still great to see them facing off against each other. This is the Muhammad Ali and George Foreman of warfare, and it's good that we got to see them face off against each other. It's a shame that Napoleon wasn't quite at his height when they did. 1805 Napoleon would have been 1798 Napoleon would have been very different prospects indeed. And that takes us on to number 3. If the commanders were, it was good to see them meet each other, then it's also good for the two armies to meet each other as well. Now, of course, the British and French armies had fought across Europe, the peninsula, and even in Central Europe as well. I'm thinking of things like the attack on Flushing and places like that. But these were always sideshows and expeditions. It wasn't the Army of the North, the main French army, versus the 7 divisions of the British army. These two hadn't crossed swords before. As I say, they've been fighting in Spain against a lot of provincial second-class troops, potentially even third-class troops in times. And so it was that they finally got to fight against the main French army. Now, there was some discussion actually between myself, General Dan, and a couple of other chaps that we met while we were there about the quality of the Army of the North. So that's Napoleon's army for the 100 Days. Traditionally, I've said it was probably quite poor, although I've sort of come around to thinking that it was maybe better than I gave it credit for. Not the best, certainly not Napoleon's best Grande Armée, but probably better than his armies in 1813, 1814. I think in those armies, particularly 1814, you had a lot of freshly raised, the famous Marie-Louises, very freshly raised troops, very inexperienced, not very well trained. By Waterloo, I think there were a lot of people returning to the colours who had perhaps been rotated out of the army in earlier campaigns. So that's why I would suspect that the Army of the North was slightly better than the armies of 1813-14, but not up to the standard of certainly 1805, maybe 1809, probably even 1812. And I'm going to do a sort of point 3.5 here, which is the variety in the armies as well. But this is particularly useful for wargamers, I think, is the French are pretty boring. The French are just one uniform army in this period, which is the exact opposite of how they were in the rest of the Napoleonic Wars, really. But the British Army is not just the British Army, it is the British and Allied Army. So you have a lot of Dutch troops in there, Nassau troops in there, Belgians, obviously. And then you've got a number of private regiments as well that are named after the colonels of those regiments. There's a couple of Dutch-Belgian ones in particular. The name escapes. De Havilland, I think, is one of them. The name escapes me at the moment. But these are these weird little units that wargamers like to research and go for. For instance, I love my Lancers of the Duchy of Berg. I know nothing about Berg. I know nothing about the Army of Berg. I don't even know what corps they were in. But I want myself a unit of the Lancers of the Duchy of Berg. That's enough for me. So the two armies are pretty impressive as well. Now, I'm going to put as a slideshow to this one just the photographs that Dan and I took while we were away. And one of those is going to be, there's like a ramp that goes through the museum, and there's a lot of uniforms on either side of the troops. They're on mannequins, they're in glass cases. You'll see them. And that shows some of the variation of the different uniforms. Even within the French army, I'm looking over here now at my my copy of Paul Dawson's book, where he very exhaustively goes into the the Waterloo army. So there's a lot. There is variation there, but not as much as there is for the British/Allies. Number 2, it's a fantastic what-if battle. I've heard people say that 9 times out of 10, the French should win Waterloo on the wargaming table. I'm not so sure about that one. I think if the French are crushing the British and Prussians, most importantly, that easily in the war games, then I think the war games are probably doing something wrong. One of the most difficult parts of a war game that reenacts Waterloo, I think, is timing the arrival of the Prussians. I think that's particularly difficult because if you do it too early, as we did at the Great Game, the French have got no chance. They're fighting on two fronts right from the off. If you do it too late, then the Prussian players have been hanging around all day and they won't actually have an impact on the battle. So that's quite a tough thing. The other thing, of course, is do you include Grouchy? Do you say there's a chance that he turns up with his 20,000 men or however many it was? Or do you just go with the historical Orbat? So on the one hand, it's a great what-if battle. On the other, there's a lot of things that you can change and adapt to suit what you want. So maybe the Prussians don't turn up at all. Maybe the Prussians do turn up from the beginning. Maybe the Prussians are on the ridge of Mont Saint-Jean and it's the Brits who are attacking through Place d'Or. There's 100 different ways you can go. Some of you will know that we did a mini campaign ourselves where we fought both Quatre Bras. We started off with Quatre Bras, then we fought the Battle of Ligny, and then we went on to do, over the course of one weekend, we did Waterloo, and we also did a battle against the Prussians as well. I guess you could sort of say it was Gnat. But that was to do with the way that those battles played out. The Duke of Wellington was killed in our Quatre Bras game, so we decided the British would fall back, only leaving a token force to hold the ridge at Mont Saint-Jean, and then the main force would go after the Prussians. So that was how we gained it out, but you can do it entirely your own way as well. You could completely ignore Quatre Bras, or you can say, what happens if the British were completely successful there? So one of the great things about the 100 Days campaign is there are lots of what-ifs available to the wargamer. And number one, last but not least, is it's been done before. Now, this is sometimes used as a criticism, and it's been oft used as a criticism by me. However, I think I was coming at it from the wrong angle when I was saying that. A wargame scenario that has been done before, it's very, very easy. I mean, the Orbat for Waterloo is literally carved in stone opposite the museum. So when you're going with one of these battles that's well known, finding out information about it is much easier to do. Something like the Waterloo game from Warlord Games, the 12.5mm version, that's got everything really that you need to go, sort of, for doing the Battle of Waterloo. It'd be nice to see some more allies. But that's got everything you need in a box. You've got blue guys versus red guys. That's basically it. Oh, yeah, you know, oh, well, the Belgians war blowouts, yeah, whatever. You've got the red guys versus the blue guys. It's that simple. So you can boil it down to that, or you can make it as complicated as you want by introducing things like the allied contingents, different morale, different trading, you know, all that good stuff. So you can either scale it down to, yeah, here's a block of wood that represents D'Erlon's Corps, or you can do it at, you know, here's a platoon fight over the sandpit outside La Haye-Saint. You can zoom in or zoom out as much as you want. It's a battle that really is, from a wargaming sense, whatever you want it to be. You can make, as I say, you can do it on the grand scale, in the grand manner, or you can do skirmish game as well. And this is this is point 0. This is the bonus one that I wanted to finish on. And this is really what made me think about just having this discussion in the video. And that is, Waterloo is such a series of iconic events. So you've got things. Now, the question is, are they iconic because they happened at Waterloo? Or do they come together to make Waterloo an iconic battle? Now, that's the question. Again, I'll let you guys argue this in the comments down below. But you've got things like the massed British cavalry charge against D'Erlon's Corps. You're shattering the infantry, only to be attacked in turn by Napoleon's secret weapon, his lancers, something that the British didn't have. Even in something like Sharp, you've got the romance of the soldiers talking about after you get past the point, it's like killing rabbits. This is the kind of conversations that soldiers have. Is A better than B? Well, yes, but then C is better than A, and things like that. So this is what I really enjoy. Who's the best swordsman? Who are the best fighters? You know, all this kind of stuff. It's what I love about the Horus Heresy novels. To completely go off on, is even the Primarchs argue amongst themselves who'd win in a fight hand-to-hand between the other Primarchs. This is before the heresy, so, so I quite like that. But so yeah, you've got the cavalry charges is then destroyed in turn. You've got the huge Grand Battery opening up at the British. You've got the successful defence of Bull's troop. You've got the defence of Hougoumont. You've got the Hussars. You've got house-to-house fighting in Plassenoir. But you've also got the open spectacle of the British falling back and then forming squares as the French cavalry charge and then throw away the cream of French cavalry. And of course, you've got the final attack of the Imperial Guard and the last stand of the Imperial Guard as well, which I am researching in detail at the moment for reasons that may become clear in a future video. So you've got all these iconic moments at the Battle of Waterloo. And as I say, the question is, do they make the Battle of Waterloo iconic, or is the Battle of Waterloo iconic because it contains these moments? I'm going to let you guys decide that in the comments down below. But that's it for today. I wanted to keep it a fairly short one. I've had quite a busy weekend. Some of you may or may not know that I've got a lot on at work at the moment. We are changing our entire IT systems. It's become something of a nightmare. So live streams, things like that, may be a little bit ad hoc for now. As always, I will be taking a break in August. There will be no videos in August. So just to get that one out for you guys up ahead. But that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's given you some food for thought. It's not a very long video, but I think we've packed quite a bit in there. What's your favourite moment from the Battle of Waterloo? What do you think makes it such an iconic battle? And as I say, what do you think... I mean, well, there's a couple of questions I asked you. Was Napoleon better general than Wellington? But a little less contentiously, I think, is... was Waterloo an iconic battle because it had all these moments, or were those moments only iconic because they took place at Waterloo? For instance, there were bigger cavalry charges at other battles. There were bigger standoffs. It's not the one with the most men. It's not the most well-trained. But they all took place on that one battle. Is that what makes it iconic? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys next time.